Professor Wild Ute, the last thing I've got for you, we could spend 25 minutes on this. I quoted you a couple weeks in the show in saying that Utah looks hot to the Big Ten because at this point you've got coaches from Oregon complaining about going to play Rutgers or going to play Illinois or whoever. That conference needs more teams on the West Coast or in the Mountain Time Zone to be able to put together some sort of cohesion in their league. And if they're going to do that, if they want to do that, and I'm sure they do, Utah's at the top of that list.
Absolutely. And this is so significant, Drake, because we just talked about the billionaire and the booster support for football and how relevant your program is, all the eyeballs that get on you. And look, the Big Ten is with the SEC, and those are the Power 2 conferences. We know that right now. We're punching up as Big 12 fans, supporters, and stuff for that. But like every single one of the Big 12 schools would love to any entry in and to jump to the SEC or the Big Ten. We all know that, even if it's not said. Utah fans are just a little bit more vocal about that, about the desire to get to that level of the Big Ten. And there has been chirps, about Utah and the Big Ten. Even someone like Brett McMurphy has come out and said the Big Ten is actually, looking at Utah and eyeing them because of a variety of factors. It's not done deal by any means, right? But like, hey, it's realistic. And there really are about 10 reasons for that. I'm going to quickly go over those reasons very quick here. First off, Utah's a cultural fit for the Big Ten. Look, they were in the Pac-12. You are with USC, UCLA, Washington, Oregon. You've had relationships with the before research institution. Utah's an AAU member. Utah's located in a fastest growing state in the nation, actually. You've got a lot of college educated people in the state of Utah, one of the best business communities in the whole U.S. and stuff. It's very pro-business, strong football, passionate fan base. You know that, Drake.
Yeah.
So You've got that. You've got a really wealthy middle class, especially in the state of Utah, which is really attractive to advertisers, especially in the Big Ten, in the Big 12, or anywhere else. And check this out. This is actually from Greg Flug, our Peek Around the Corner and everything, is very, very connected to the stuff. He's mentioned this several times. But Utah has a close relationship with, believe it or not, the USC Trojans.
Huh.
And the USC, I'm serious about this, Drake. And the USC Trojans are actually very pro-Utah. They would love to bring Utah in the Big Ten Conference. So that's a huge factor, perhaps a swing factor in this discussion too. And a couple other ideas. The Mountain Time Zone, the Big Ten's not in the Mountain Time Zone. Add that footprint. No political barriers too. If Utah were to jump to the Big Ten Conference, look, BYU would hate it, get that, and everything, but they're not going to be stopping a public institution in Utah, like a private institution like BYU, from going to the Big Ten Conference. So there's no political hurdles there too. So look, we just outlined a bunch of things. You mentioned it before, a geographic bridge to out west to USC, UCLA and stuff. So you're kind of that middleman, midpoint. Those are all factors that could be a swing factor to get Utah in the Big Ten Conference. It's not a done deal. I'm not saying it's a done deal, but it's realistic.
So I think a couple of the major questions that come to mind, and we may only have time for 2 more questions. It's a fast-moving show. The first one being, in the event that Tony Petitti picks up the phone and sure, Utah's on the other line, can the Big 12 do anything to salvage the Utes being in the conference?
No. And just like if Baylor got the phone call from the SEC, there's nothing you can do. You have to go, Drake. It's a no-brainer decision to go for really any amount of money, because of what that would do to your institution, for your rejuvenated fan base and everything. Just imagine the booster support that would come in because of the excitement. So it's almost like in today's realignment space, like the SMU project of just taking no media rights is almost like what to look for and expect. Basically, there's so much of a value add for getting into the Big Ten or the SEC. It's not even really about the immediate payouts or money. It's just about the status of being there and the higher level of like opponents coming in and who your new peers are. So there's nothing that the Big 12 could do. And just like it wouldn't be for Baylor or BYU or anybody else that got that call up, it's just an easy decision to say, yes, you got to take it.
This is, and I've mentioned this before, it's kind of similar with part of the transfer portal. If I work at KPMG and they're going to give me $2 million a year, and then Deloitte calls and says, we'll give you $4 million a year, I'm going to Deloitte. You're like, yeah, well, Deloitte's more corporate. Okay, I'm getting $2 million more per year. I think I'm going to be okay with, something that's more corporate or something that's different, or, you got to travel a little bit more. I'll find a way to make it work. So the other big question that comes to mind is, if tomorrow the Big 12, the Big Ten, I should say, decided to add 2 or 4, And let's go ahead and put on lock the schools in the SEC. None of them are going to leave for the Big Ten, but considering everybody out of the ACC, the Big 12, or Notre Dame even, is Utah in that top 2? Are they in that top 4? Are they number 1?
Yeah, so we're getting more in the speculation area, like Drake, right?
Sure, no doubt.
So I just gotta have to say that here. In my view, if the Big Ten moves from 18 to 22 to 24 schools, Utah's got a shot at getting into the Big Ten Conference. Yep. If there's going to be 1 or 2 schools that are going to jump over, it's not going to be Utah. I don't think that the Utes are in that type of position. Of course, a Notre Dame, a UNC, and UVA are going to be the top 3 targets for the Big Ten and the SEC. Those are the schools they want. That's very known and everything. But when you're looking outside of that, there has to be some stuff that shakes out. In my view, UVA and UNC need to go to the SEC for Utah to get a sniff at the Big Ten Conference. Also, Notre Dame needs to remain independent. My thinking on that is that Stanford and Notre Dame have a close relationship. So if Notre Dame goes to the Big Ten, they're going to want to pull Stanford over. And I don't think that the Big Ten Conference is going to grab multiple teams out west. I think it's a race for Utah versus Stanford versus Cal versus ASU versus Colorado, really for one spot, in my point of view. So if Notre Dame remains Indy, UVA, UNC, go to the SEC, Utah all of a sudden is in probably that 4th spot. So if it goes up to 22 schools, Utah has a chance to sneak into the Big Ten Conference.
I think there are people asking right now, plenty who have followed along the last few years with this realignment conversation, where do Clemson and Florida State fall in this, and how have we not brought them up yet?
Man, I'll tell you what, so Clemson and Florida State, especially Clemson, I think Clemson's a very good shot at getting the SEC still. I mean, it's such a good fit for the SEC, the Tigers. Florida State's an interesting one. I think they could find themselves in the SEC still. The Big Ten's going to be looking at them. But the Big Ten, really, there's a lot more than football that goes into these decisions, right? Everyone thinks about it in the football range, but hey, do the schools actually align culturally? Everything we just talked about, there's 10 reasons why Utah's a fit. Utah's actually ahead of Florida State in some of those categories, way behind in other categories too. I mean, Florida State's brand is massive. We all know that. It's huge and everything. But Florida State, because they're not AAU, because they're not as research heavy focused and everything, they might not be as much of a shoe-in to get into the Big Ten or the SEC as you would think, just on the football field and brand-wise. Whereas Utah's more of a sneaky choice, like a quieter choice and everything. So Florida State has a chance to get in the Big Ten Conference. I still think football-wise they're the crown jewel of realignment. But hey, it's not a done deal for them to get in any of those conferences. But it seems like the momentum's moving more towards the SEC. So it looks like the SEC, Florida State, Clemson, UVA, UNC could really happen.
Mr. Professor, the Wild Ute. Where can folks go to find more of, because I know you've talked in depth about each of these topics on your own. Where can folks find more of those conversations?
College Football Mafia. Go check out our YouTube channel. We talk about news, realignment, and then Wild Ute University. Do breakout videos on a lot of these things. Like to get into the details. College Football Mafia, baby.
Not a real professor, he told me at the beginning of the show. He wanted to make it very clear, not a real professor. Also at The Wild Ute on Twitter. I popped a couple of the tweets up if you're watching on YouTube as well. You can find his Twitter at The Wild Ute and plenty. Anything you're working on for the Holy War this week?
Oh, man, I've got so much content going on. We'll be jumping on multiple channels and stuff. College Football Mafia is going to have some good Holy War content. Come check us out.
Love it. That is The Wild Ute. I hope it didn't dox you. Do they know you're Philip? Is that okay?
Yeah, like some of us. Yeah, no problem at all.
Some people too.
I'll be Philip Wild Ute, whatever you want.
Yeah, I hope to see him this weekend at the Holy War. Utah and BYU top 25 matchup. The biggest matchup, arguably, in rivalry history. I think so. I think it's a great point. I do think it's the biggest matchup the Big 12's seen so far to help legitimize this conference. Follow along at LO Big 12 on Twitter, wherever you find your podcast. This has been, it always will be, Locked On. Thanks for making it your first listen every single day. Dose Grande.